the same space. So
yes, they are. They're exactly in the same space, and they're the same walls.
I never realized that they were taking them down and putting them back up.
So I thought, and then I got a chance to go to some of the galas, and so I started photographing all of the things that happen in Art Week, but not the art. Right. All of the workers, the patrons, the collectors, and I have a few of those I'll show you. Sure. And so this is the third and the last time I've done it, and I'm really thinking about those photographs are very content. There's a guy with a painting on the walls, and I'm trying to figure out how to sequence them or how to do something that moves them from something else. This is let me just tell you about the walls itself. Now, sure. I suppose other people wouldn't find this interesting, but so that's an empty space, and 10 years ago, they hired somebody to figure out a way to put walls together that can be free-forming. And so they're made out of like 2x4s, and they have heavy wood, and they have some kind of mechanism by which they kind of lock into each other, and they put them in place. Then they come in with gigantic sheets of canvas, and they stretch the canvas over. You don't even know. I'm glad that you have that look. Oh, you don't even know this. See, this is right. This is. I've
got this very perplexed look on my face.
Then they stretch. They have gigantic rolls of whatever that is, 8 feet walls over it, and then they take a hand stapler. They can't use a staple gun. They take a hand stapler. These are the guys, most of them of color, who staple every inch around all of that. Then they come in with a roller on a stick with white paint, and they go like this, and it sucks the canvas to the wood.
Okay.
And that gives a wall that all those people who are bringing art is stable enough so they can put a nail in there, and it looks like it's like a drywall.
So it's not sheetrock; it's plywood.
Oh no, it's plywood.
It's plywood that it's basically like they're painting, and the paint is soaking through the material and sticking to the plywood.
And then when they take them down, they take them all down at the end and cart them away to somewhere. A guy stores them. And then when off days, they come and they peel off all of the canvas, some of which they donate to school. Sometimes they use a dry back cloth, even though they have tons. And then sometimes they have to remove the staples by hand. And they do that. This is the 10th year they've used those things. And they cover, then that's on the second floor. On the first floor, I can show you some pictures if you want.
Right.
Because on the first floor, they have tenants who have moved out, and the tenants have showrooms for boutique clothing in there. And so there are walls. When we walk down a corridor and you see a white wall, actually there's a nice metal wall there that so when people are walking through they can see in there. And then all of the walls that are inside, not the side walls, are brick, and they cover up all those brick walls. So there is, and I've documented all of that because I find it so fascinating. And I don't know why I find it fascinating, except that there's all of this work done. Now, the people who work there, they make money. Now, and if you think about what they make, $15 an hour, $20, I don't know what they make. I'm going to find out. Yeah. But if you think about the paintings upstairs that sell for $30,000, and some, not all, some of these guys who are the workers studied art. Not all of them, but I mean, they're workers. Like painters paint with their hands and work with, if sculptors do it, and I see these guys doing the same thing. I mean, I know they're not doing the same thing, but they're handling hand tools. It's paint. I find it all really interesting. Yeah, and I knew that it was used as a fashion space in the off season, but I had no idea. I guess I didn't realize that there was that much heavy lifting going on transforming the space.
right? And I guess I didn't realize that there were, tenants. But I mean, I guess it would be a lot like, what you would see at the trade center with, the sort of setups they have in the different market, sort of thing.
Right.
And so the folks that have shops there, do they, are they leasing the space? They're like,
yes,
they're being
they're told
compensated.
That, yes, and actually, one of the things that happens before the FIG people, Fashion Institute Gallery,
right?
The FIG people, which are the same people who do the Dallas Art Fair, John Shigru, they come in and they take all of the clothes and put them somewhere, or they tell them take them, or we'll take them somewhere, and then they have tables and they have microwaves and they have all these brackets that they hang things in, and those are either stored away. There's actually some of the booths that you go to that have all of that stuff has been shoved on the thing, and they put a wall in front of it. So
wow.
I am glad you're interested, because I just find it, I don't know why I find it so interesting that, that people do this all the time. They have weddings and they put up all this fancy stuff, but you're walking through there and you don't, it's in 3 days, it's all empty.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't sure what the nature of the project was, whether it was just kind of like, Eric Fischel in the last decade has done a lot of these, art fair, gallery sort of,
Well, I've been doing things like that too. I've been documenting all of the aspects of the fairs, of the events that go on. And I don't really know, I studied sociology as an undergraduate. And I had a teacher who was quite well known, and he wrote a book called Art Worlds, and it's a sociology of art. And so all I'm really doing is describing all of the players in it, without because all of us are either implicated or immersed or on some. All of us are getting something. And then I have a lot of pictures I'll kind of show you of men and women interacting.
Right.
And then, people, everybody's got a deal or some kind of transaction going on. It's not just the art.
Right.
It's the workers who get money for what they do. And it's the dressed up woman who is eye candy for her husband or something. Everybody's got their transaction.
It was Becker's Sociology of Art. And I was trying to do research. So I haven't even. Well, but if I remember right, part of that treatise was that a painter doing a painting is not an individual event. Someone somewhere was involved in weaving the canvas, and somebody harvested the timber that became the stretchers, and maybe someone assembled that, and there was somebody in a plant somewhere that was, creating gesso and all of that together. It was, there is a collaborative experience in creating a piece of art.
Exactly, and that's all I'm really doing is illustrating that. And I don't know how interesting that will be. And some of us who know about all the art world and know, there's somebody who is hired, the truck has to deliver it, may think, who cares? I really don't know. It's all, I just finished it just, a couple days ago. I went to where they're transporting the walls to the warehouse. And so now I've got, my work now is just to edit them and see what see what you have. Yeah, and I have a few.
Well, which, is another question I have, because, again, you've been, a professional photographer for 45 years, give or take. Yeah. And so, again, going back to how the technology has changed, do you find yourself, I would assume that you would find yourself taking a lot more images as you work digitally. Is that a good or a bad assumption?
Well, that's a joke, and I was trying to remember who said this statement, but it's kind of gone around. is, you took 36 pictures, you had a roll of 12. You took 12 pictures to get a good one. You had a roll of 36. You took one out of 36. Right. And now you have thousands. And I actually have I think I have 30,000 photographs of the art fair that I'm going through and organizing. At 30,000. And that's partly because I'm using a motor drive on it. When I was photographing, we haven't talked about a house, which is okay. Those houses aren't moving, and I can just, I can put my view camera there, and I only need to take 2 or 3 or 4 of the same thing because I'm all kind of pre-visualized. But when people are moving quickly around and stuff, and I'm not a quick camera handler. I mean, my whole life has been the camera on a tripod, and so one of the things that's been, and even my pictures in the windows there are people passing by quickly, and that's when I started to use my motor drive on there. But the art fair I have to take a lot of pictures in order to get a good one, and even then I don't really get good ones. So I've been I'm back to not being a very good photographer.
Oh my gosh!
I don't have it together. I wish I did, but I think I've taken so many that I'll be able to get enough of them that will hold together somehow. So,
is your eye adept enough that you can just in a second be able to spot what you do or don't like about a particular image? I mean, you have 35,000 images.
That's a really good question, and the answer is from years of putting the camera on the tripod and setting it up, I can do that. This thing that I've been doing, I'm not so good at. Robert Frank or Gary Winogrand or some of these other photographers who work on the street and didn't even have motor drives, they're really good, but I'm not so good at it. And I really am not so good at it, and so it's disappointing. And so occasional, and I shoot so much, kind of coverage. I know I'll get something, and then I come home and I look at it, and I'm not. There's a few images, but I don't have that aha. Like when I said that. Well, I'm exaggerating a little. Like I mean, there are sometimes I see things that are in front of me at the art fair or somewhere. And I think I can make a picture here, but I really am not. I'm going to be able to pull it off, but I'm just telling you. Your question is really good. I shoot tons.
No, I remember. It's funny you talk about the economy of taking pictures. I remember seeing like an interview with Eccleston, and he would take lots and lots of photos, but he would never take more than one photo of a particular thing that he was shooting. Right. He would take 36 shots per roll, but every one was different. There's he would see it and take it and move on. And I just don't know how you can have the confidence to know that you got what you were shooting for there. But there's sort of a grain, not a grainy, but there's a improvisation sort of quality to those pictures anyway.
So I would say that in the past I knew if I got something then it was pretty good. I had was pretty confident about being able to judge what it was that. And this time I have some situations, and actually it's interesting you would say this. The times that I get excited are when the light is really good. Most of these pictures that I take, the light in the inside is not very interesting, or is the color. And so, even though I've been talking about content, I still really loved the composition. And so, I was photographing a few things at night, and I said, "Oh, this is really good." And I said, "Well, you photograph the same thing in the daytime. Why are you excited at night?" And it's because I get to color, I get to move and do things, work with the kind of stuff I like.
Yeah, absolutely. You were talking about how interesting the light was. The same scene would be so much more interesting at night. And it reminds me of, again, that photography class I took with you. My final project, I chose to do time-lapse photos of Christmas lights. And And, part of what I really loved,